Welcome to Oregon Housing and Community Services training on annual financial submissions, as presented by the Portfolio Management Unit of the Affordable Rental Housing Division. In this video, we will review the reason behind annual financial submissions, the finer details of the submissions, learn how to build your full submission, and how to submit your financial reporting through Procorum. Let's begin by looking at the purpose of annual financial reporting. As a housing finance agency, OHCS has a vested interest in many multifamily housing properties. Annual financial submissions allow our team the opportunity to regularly assess the financial health of a property as well as the risk involved by calculating either a debt coverage ratio, also known as DCR, or an income and expense ratio, in addition to reviewing revenue and expense trends. We are able to track this information year over year, highlighting current anomalies and historical patterns, which then provide a basis for the establishment of property improvement plans, if needed, between our OHCS asset management analysts, compliance analysts, and our partners. There are several variables that can impact our annual risk assessment. These can include, but are not limited to, debt coverage ratio score, program compliance to include file reviews, physical property inspections, and their ratings. Was the annual CCPC reporting submitted in entirety and on time? Were the annual financial reports submitted in a timely manner? Is the communication regarding the property responsive, effective, and proactive? It is important to be aware that poor performance and non-compliance with program requirements can impact important things such as approval of rent increase requests, management agent approvals, approval of replacement reserve withdrawals for elderly bond or risk-share properties, future funding opportunities, notice of event of default issuance, approval of extension requests. Next, let's look at some basic information regarding annual financial reporting. Let's begin by reviewing who is required to submit annual financial reports. Annual financial reports are required for all properties with 10 or more units funded with tax credit, home, lift, conduit, and with operating agreements. Annual submissions are required for properties regardless of the number of units that are funded with risk share, American Recovery and Reinvestment Act TCAP and 1602 exchange, as well as elderly bonds. So when are annual financial submissions due? Financial reports for most programs must be submitted within 90 days of the property's fiscal year-end. Some common fiscal year-end months are shown. Reporting for a property with a fiscal year-end month of March is due June 30th. June is due September 30th. September is due December 31st. And a fiscal year-end month of December is due March 31st. However, please take note that properties funded with LIFT or ARRA 1602 or TCAP must be submitted no later than 120 days after the property's fiscal year-end. We understand that this timeline may be difficult for some organizations. If you expect to be unable to meet your property's annual financial reporting deadline, it is expected that you communicate this in advance by requesting an extension. Extension requests must be submitted prior to your deadline expiring and are subject to approval from your OHCS asset management analyst. These can easily be requested through our online request form located on the OHCS Portfolio Administration website. Under Quick Links, Financial Reporting. Unauthorized late submissions are considered a non-compliance issue. What is included in a submission? Submissions mainly consist of two parts. The first is the ProLink standard template, and the second is the supporting financial documentation. The ProLink standard template is an Excel workbook provided by OHCS, which is filled out each year by you, our housing partners. It contains all of the relevant financial data for your property for the year that we can then import into our HFA software. Your supporting financial documentation may vary depending on your funding source or other factors, but is generally either a copy of your independent, third-party auditor's packet or an internal copy of your income statement or P&L, along with your balance sheet. More details on this later. Let's learn how to build your submission in more detail using the ProLink standard template and your financial documents. To begin, you'll need a blank copy of the ProLink standard template. To download the blank template for your particular property, please log into your Procorum account at app.procorum.com/login. If you do not have a Procorum account, please contact your asset management analyst for access. Once you've gained access, navigate to your intended property work center on the lower left-hand side. First, click on the folder titled Asset Management Property Review, then click on the Financials folder. Click on the file titled Blank ProLink Standard Template Version 2020 or similar to start the file download. You should always download a blank template from your property's Procorum Work Center each reporting season in case there are any formatting changes. Do not overwrite your saved file from the previous year or use a template from another work center. In this workbook, you'll be required to fill in 3 of the tabs: Balance Sheet, P&L, and the tab labeled Other. Each of these worksheets is formatted similarly with columns for the account name, our agency label, if different, one to enter the numerical amount, an indicator of if the entry is typically a positive or negative value, and a field to enter comments. On the Balance Sheet tab, enter information as outlined on your actual balance sheet, including both assets and liabilities, as well as any equity. For example, we are currently entering in the real estate assets by aligning the lines and financial figures on the balance sheet with the appropriate lines on the workbook and making the entry in the amount column. Here, our restricted deposits are reported together. To properly report these, we need to dig into the audit for a breakdown of all reserve accounts to accurately report them in the ProLink standard template. The dark green rows will calculate your entries for those sections as you continue to make your entries. Here you can see that the dark green asset figure matches the asset total on the balance sheet, which ensures all entry is complete for this particular section. Continue on by entering the liabilities information. Please note that any entries for fields labeled as senior hard debt should relate to those first or second mortgages or loans actively in repayment. Again, using the dark green workbook row for liability, compare this tabulation to the total on your balance sheet for liabilities and ensure they match. Please make your equity entries as well to finish up this worksheet. If using a third-party auditor's packet as your documentation, you may have to transcribe information from not only the statement of operations at the beginning of the audit, but any secondary statement of operations or detail of expenses that is included in the back end of the audit packet to formulate a complete narrative in the P&L tab. Transcribe your information into the ProLink Standard Templates P&L tab. As mentioned previously, gross potential rent figures, as well as vacancy loss figures, are imperative to report here, even if your audit or P&L only show net figures. We expect these figures to be provided for a full, transparent financial picture of your revenue stream. Use the dark blue rows on the ProLink template to validate your total revenue stream, as well as total expenses, both operating and entity level combined. All expenses in a category grouping should remain together when possible. For example, all administrative costs should remain in the same grouping even if you have to combine 2+ expenses into one line item when entering the data so that the total for the category matches the supporting financials. The ProLink standard template is organized to match HUD's chart of accounts, and we strongly suggest that OHCS portfolio properties model the same format for their financial information for ease of use. If you are required to map your organization's chart of accounts in order to fit this format, it would be helpful to provide your mapping or grouping to assist us to understand your reported finances. Take special care to enter interest paid on OHCS or conduit loans in active repayment, not cash flow basis or accrued interest, on line 6810.11. Other interest payments made should be entered on subsequent available lines. To combine figures from multiple line items, create a sum of the different entries within the amount field, and then notate the individual items that made up that figure in the comments column. Continue entering all expenses. Once everything is entered, head to the Other tab. On the Other tab, enter in the total amount actually deposited into the replacement reserve account, excluding interest, during that fiscal year. Next, enter the total amount of principal debt paid, excluding interest. Do not include debt service paid on a cash flow basis or the total debt service balance. A word of caution: do not modify the workbook by adding additional tabs, adding rows or columns, changing font aspects, altering any other formatting, or by adding password protection or encryption. Any such alterations will render the workbook unreadable by our software and will result in the template being rejected and returned to you for resubmission. Let's discuss the financial documents that you are providing in support of the information entered into the ProLink standard template. As mentioned earlier, the financial documentation that you are required to submit may vary based upon a property's particular circumstances. A third-party independent auditor's report may be required by the regulatory agreement, such as in the case of properties with elderly bond, risk share funds, TCAP, or ARRA 1602 exchange. This PDF document must be a final copy with a certification of borrower statement signed by the designated owner that is on file with OHCS. Full audit requirements can be found on the OHCS website by searching the term Audit Guide. Additionally, certain ownership groups or partnerships may decide to require an independent third-party auditor's report. Please check directly with your ownership to see if they have this requirement. If your regulatory or partnership agreements do not require audited financials, you are otherwise welcome to submit a copy of your internal income statement along with your balance sheet. The income statement is also known as a profit and loss statement or a statement of operations. For ease of use, it is highly recommended that your income statement follow the HUD chart of accounts, if possible. It should detail your gross revenue stream, vacancy loss, NOI. Operating expenses. Depreciation and amortization. Interest paid. Non-operating expenses such as entity-level expenses and capital expenses. And lastly, net income or loss. A balance sheet should have detail of all assets, including a breakdown of individual reserve accounts, all liabilities, including detail of individual bonds, loans, and mortgages, and lastly, equity. Some important items to note regarding your financial submissions. Gross potential rent figures as well as vacancy loss figures are expected to be reported in order to provide us a full, transparent picture of your revenue stream. Please ensure that your auditor or accounting departments are reporting this information and not just your net rents. Third-party auditors' packets should be submitted as unsecured PDF files. Income statement and balance sheet files can be submitted in either unsecured PDF or Excel format. Auditors' packets are preferred whenever possible. Please note, a trial balance report is not acceptable in lieu of an internal income statement or balance sheet. If you are reporting on what's known as a scattered site, or a grouping of sites that share funding, you are now required to provide one submission that reflects the financial information of all the respective sites combined. The submission should include just one single ProLink standard template, along with supporting financials that show individual site figures along with combined figures to represent the whole project. Some properties that require a third-party audit end up submitting a consolidated entity audit, as they belong to a much larger parent organization. If your consolidated entity audit does not break down information at the individual property level, you must also include a property-level internal income statement and balance sheet for the property. You may consider providing supplemental financial documents that contain additional relevant detailed information that help provide even more clarity regarding a property's financial status and potential challenges. Some examples of supplemental documents to provide could include details of any casualty loss expenses, large or atypical revenue sources, large or atypical operating expenses, any newly added funding sources, a year-to-date vacancy report, a copy of a trial balance report, year-end statements for reserve accounts. Now that you've learned how to build your submission, let's focus on how to submit your files, including naming conventions and uploading into Procorum. File names should contain the fiscal year, file description, and property name, such as in 2023 Income Statement ABCD Apartments or 2023 Audited Financials ABCD Apartments. For secure file uploads, OHCS utilizes Procorum, which serves as a web-based cloud for file sharing. Navigate to app.procorum.com/login. Save this to your browser favorites for easy access. Enter your email, followed by your password to login. If you do not have access, you must contact your OHCS portfolio management team to request access. Do not click Join Procorum. Once you have logged in, navigate to your identified work center within the left side menu and click on its name. In the Property Work Center, click on Files in the upper left side menu. Then Asset Management Property Review, followed by Financials. Next, click on the green Upload Files button. Drag and drop your files to the screen or click Choose File to select files for upload. After selecting the files, change the status to Final. When ready, click the blue Upload button in the lower right. A progress bar will indicate upload status, and once complete, the screen will refresh, listing all uploaded files. After all files have been uploaded, click Tasks in the left side menu. The center of the screen will refresh, showing reporting tasks that have been assigned. The first way you can mark a task complete is to click the grayed out checkmark to the left of the task, turning it green. Do not mark the task complete if you have not uploaded the required item. The second option would be to click on the task name, taking you into the Edit Task screen. Here you would scroll to the Assignment section and tick the Mark Finished box next to your name, followed by OK. Save and return to the Tasks menu to repeat this process to finish all applicable tasks. If you are unable to mark a task as completed, you may utilize the Post feature to leave us a note regarding this, or you can email your assigned asset management analyst directly. Congratulations! Your annual financial reporting submission is complete. The relationship between OHCS and your organization is a partnership in which we work together to provide quality and sustainable affordable housing to people across Oregon. We may reach out with additional needs as we assess your properties. In support of that partnership, we ask that you please provide timely and thorough responses to any inquiries or requests that we may have. At the beginning of each new calendar year, Portfolio Management releases a new technical advisory that highlights any updates to the financial submission process or reporting requirements that will be relevant to the upcoming reporting year. We strongly recommend that our partners sign up for these advisories to be fully prepared for your next submission. Visit our website to sign up today. OHCS Asset Management Analysts are here to answer any questions and provide assistance with your submissions. The most effective way to reach our asset management analysts is via email. If you are unsure of which analyst is assigned to your property, please email arh.portfolio@hcs.oregon.gov to inquire. Thank you for your partnership, and thank you for joining us for this video.